Hey folks, how's it going? K1GMM. And this is the final part of the TX RX Audio Master Blaster Class series. This is in regards to the Rxdap. We're going to get right to it. Following the first part, I'm going to show you in this part how to, if you wanted to use your own plugins or use the plugins that I provide on the website. I'm assuming you'd use those plugins. So those are the plugins I'm going to use. I'm going to show you exactly how to edit them, set it up from scratch in VST Host. VST Host is the only program I use for the Rxdap. I was using the DAW, but decided against that because I don't have to use the DAW, but I do, only for a pass-through on the Anon, the Satan in the box. But I want to keep it simple. So this to me is very simple. So I'll show you exactly how to do that. First thing you need to do is download the VST Host. You can download the program right online. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link for just the raw program. Runs right off the desktop. You extract it download it, extract it to the desktop, and it will place it there. And I'll show you which file to open, which application file to open in that folder. It does not install on the computer. It runs right off the desktop or wherever you put it. All right, so let's get over to the other screen. We're gonna get off and running here, and it's gonna be fast and furious. So stay with me, folks. Not gonna waste any time. I'm anxious to get this series done, and then I will literally be done. I'm not addressing this anymore. So here we go. Let's get that folder open. This is the VST Host folder. What you want to do is click on this. Best way to deal with this is to right click on this. I think I showed this in part 1, and pin it to the desktop. I'm sorry, the taskbar. That's the easiest way to access it instead of going to the directory. Mine's already pinned to the taskbar, but one thing I wanted to show you is if you're not running a DAW for TX, the easiest thing to do would be to download and install the plugins to a folder within this directory. Or you can do it on the computer. Doesn't matter. The only thing you'll need to do is to point, like I showed you, point VST Host to that folder so it sees the plugin so you can load them up. All right, once that's done, go ahead and click on this. This will open VST Host. So the first thing you want to do is set your input and output devices. Like we talked about, mine is already set. Go to part 1 if you want to see that. All right, we need some plugins. So you have your engine input and output right here. They are unchained, which means you won't hear anything. So the first thing I'm going to do, I always open, if you click on this button right here, it's the next box over from the red X. That's the parameters. I always have this open on the screen. This is the engine input, and the input controls the drive to all of the plugins, as well as some other things, but I'll show you that coming. So the first plugin we're going to want is, I'm going to put in the Bitsonic Sound Recovery. So I'm going to plug this in here. Mute that for now. Now what you want to do is you want to click on the third box over from the right. 1, 2, 3. Click on this and it will open the panel for the Bitsonic. All right, now what this does is this is the cloud lifter. This takes the audio and the signal, everything, and it lifts it up in a radical fashion. All right, so the first plugin you put in will automatically chain, as you can see, engine input, output. The output of the engine input will automatically go to the input of the very first plugin. And then the output of that very first plugin will automatically chain to the engine output, the input of the output. So it'll complete the connection. Think of it like a patch cord. So you just patched them together. All right. Output to in, output to in. This is how this is going to work. All right. So we come over here to the plugin. I'm going to reel all these back. And it looks like the signals are pretty crappy on the radio. So we'll try and make this work. First thing you want to do on this particular plugin, you have a split frequency. So I bring this down. You'll see right here, this is the bottom end. So 55 hertz. So I'm going to bring this down. I'll bring it down to about roughly 40 hertz, somewhere in there. That's good enough. This is for the enhancer. I don't use that. All right, so you can ignore that. You can take this and drag it all the way over. That's fine. Now here's your low pass. So the low pass acts like a filter. It will shut down the high end. The higher you go, you'll see that purple line. It'll go to the left. Now this is your frequency spectrum right here. So I'm about 42 to 19.2, close to 20K. Obviously, we don't go out to 20K. So I'm going to set this probably for now right around in here, 4,800 maybe, something like that. All right. The next thing we need to do is we need to get the audio up. So I'm going to bring this up to about 40. And your system may vary. It may be different for you. It's going to vary dependent on noise floor. So I'm going to set the input and recovery to 40. I'm going to bring the low up. Let's put this about 10 o'clock. I'm going to put the high about 10 o'clock. All right, so I'm going to unmute the receiver. And let's click on a signal here. So what you want to do, if you're on a conventional transceiver, you want to set your RF gain, about 50%. All right. If you're on an SDR, set your AGCT RF gain open. I tend to run mine fairly open, and I let this system take care of the noise. Okay, so I'm going to click back up here because this is a good signal. I think this is a net going on or something. All right. So what we want to do is we want to get the drive level up so we get this working. Voice see. Okay, I'm going to unmute this. Yep, so that's YL Systems.
Nothing heard. Kilo 2, Zulu Delta. Back to you, Mario.
Okay, what we want to do on this window right here is click on denoiser. And unfortunately, it reset everything. So let me bring this back down. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to redo this. And enhancer is off. Split. We're going to bring the low pass down, like I said, bring it down to around 4,800. Somewhere in there. These are probably, I'm going to bring these down to about 9 o'clock. Let's put these here for now. And good Lord. Let's bring this back up to 40. Bring this back up to around 40.
Net control for the Maritime Mobile Service Net, and we're looking for additional stations with or without traffic. Your call signs, please.
Okay. So that seems to be working. Next plugin I'm going to put in is the Brit presser. So let's plug in the Brit presser here. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to have to change the patch points. So the Brit presser, click on the top left button, and it's set to engine input. We don't want that. We want the Bitsonic. The plugin before that, and we need to go down here to the engine output, and we need to select the Brit presser. So uncheck the Bitsonic. So we're repatching this. So it goes out of one into another, out of that into another, blah, blah, blah.
And this is November Papa 2 Bravo, NP2B stroke 4, net control for the Maritime Mobile Service Net. And we're looking for additional stations with or without traffic. Your call signs, please.
Okay, so if let's go to 40, see what's going on 40. See if there's anything else happening. Oh yeah, much better signals on 40. At least there's something to work with. Good heavens. Let's go down to 150.
A couple years ago, I had tree guys come in and do a lot of work here, and they had those machines, and man, it was amazing.
Okay, I'm going to mute that for now. So the Brit presser, what you want to do is you want to open the edit box. Remember, third button over from the right. And we want to get some hard limiting going on the Brit presser. All right, this is important. So we have about an S7, S8 signal, which is eh. Let me click on this one. This is stronger. So this is... Okay, that's roughly an S9. Okay. So we can see the meters moving. We know the stuff is happening. So what you want to do is you want to apply a little limiting to this. All right. So what I do is I click this down to 50. I do not apply any compression. This is the compression section. This is your output from the plugin, which will control the gain to all the other plugins following it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that down. You can left click and pull down on this. I set this to 50. Now, if you left click and pull down, we can bring this up until we start engaging the limiter. So that signal is roughly an S7, so that's not too bad right there. So let's go ahead and unmute.
Recalls, and I don't know. To me, and Carl, look, I know you have a flex, you have a.
Okay, so haven't done much in regards to noise yet. All right, that's coming. So we want just a little bit of limiting. On an S5, or S7, S8, S9 signal, we want to crush it on a 20 over signal, on a 10 over, 20 over. And what that does, so I just changed frequencies. Oh yeah, I'm crushing it now. So that's an S9. So we could probably go back just a hair on that, or we can reduce the gain. So I'm going to leave the gain up a little bit. Let's unmute this again.
I don't have a big property here, but I had a similar.
So that's about an S7.
Price of work recently. I had we have 3 maple trees in the front.
So that's pretty good.
The spotted
Let's go up here, see what's going on.
Northeast of the Liberty Bell. Go ahead. A lot of hard work. I wouldn't want to do it again. So now I have a
okay. That's pretty good.
Back. It's
that's
pretty
about
good size, but it's made out of.
That's about an S9 signal, just a little bit in the red. So there's a lot of limiting going on. Now you want the hard limiting on the very strong signals, and what it'll do is it'll allow the weak signals to come through. And what that does is it prevents you from having to ride the gain too much. You know, if you're in a round table and you got someone who's like a 5.7, and then you have somebody who's 10, 15, 20 over, it'll slam the door on that 20 over, preventing you from having to ride it constantly. You know how it practically blows the speakers off the wall. Next plugin. Let's grab the Bertom Denoiser Pro. Let's plug this in here. Here's where the magic starts to happen. Okay, remember we need to repatch the inputs and outputs. So that plugin, that goes in after the Brit presser. So that receives the audio from the Brit presser. We go down to the engine output, and we want the Denoiser Pro. There you go, repatched. Go ahead and open this up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring these sliders up here. What you want to do on this is you want to set your frequencies. So what I do is I set this to around 3.6 and I just leave it there. I don't touch it. On the top end, I click in the high frequency roll off. And that will shut off all the frequencies, taper them off above 3.6 kilohertz, because what do you need to listen to it for? There's no audio there. Usually, I listen to guys that are like I don't know why this is flashing here. Oh, what is there, an update? You got to be kidding me. Oh my God. That's amusing. Okay, so it's freaking bar. Okay. Next thing I want to do, let's bring these down. I'll run these down about here. So 3.6. I set this up around about 125, 140 hertz, and I'll show you why. Because this is very handy. If the copy is marginal, right? Let's put it at 150 hertz. If the copy is marginal and these guys are running a lot of bottom end, all you're going to hear is bottom end. So what you can do is you can hit this button right here, and it will roll off everything below 150 hertz, and it will be much easier to copy. If a guy's just in the noise floor and he's running a lot of bottom end, that's a problem. Right, so this is a feature right here. You can click the auto, and that will put it into auto mode. And this right here will control all the global noise reduction. Okay, so let me, let's see. I'll unmute the audio.
And it's a little too hot out there with 95 degrees for her to be out too long.
It's already
so I'll
better.
Make sure she's okay. So I'll turn it back to you, I guess, for the final and any other comments you might have there, Bob. And look for you again, that's for sure. W4 OGH K3SRO.
Okay, let's see. We have someone, I think, working.
So he's very weak, that guy.
Well, I wouldn't call myself a lurker.
So if we put it,
hello to the other station. Hello.
So if you put it in manual, I'll show you what happens in manual. So I just took it out of auto, I'll put it in manual.
Well, it took me a little more time than I figured. So, yeah, how you doing there, Bob? KV1AL.
Bob is
So you can really crush it down.
up in north of Philly, and he's K3SRO, and so you got Bob Square.
So that's guys.
This afternoon, Al, and Bob, that's Al, who I mentioned earlier. I was thinking he might be around today.
Moving, and so I borrowed a paddle. I never had a paddle for my for the electronic keyers that are built into these radios. I have
So
a
put it in
straight
auto.
key, and that's why I hated CW, because that's too much work. I mean, I have a beautiful straight key. It's a World War II flame-proof key, that they mounted in the bomber planes, and on some of the ships.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this. So that's already pretty flipping good, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually switch this to direct and let you hear what the direct, just the raw front end of the radio sounds like. And I think you're going to hear quite the difference. These signals are not strong. He's only about an S7. So let me get the audio back on.
Used it during field day. Well, it was so much fun, made so many contacts that I said, you know what, I'm going to buy one of these. So I bought one, and the same thing he has, except it's a single lever one, but because I'll never be able to use the iambic function. So anyway, but I bought the same key, and I've been enjoying it. I've been making at least one or two contacts a day. I have to say I didn't make any today because I had other projects, but before the day's over, I'll make a contact.
Oh, before you go any further, I forgot about this. What you want to do is open performance. And before you close it, if you close it, you're going to lose everything. I'll show you how to save it. So right now, go to autosave, click the autosave, make sure that's on, and autosave plugin banks, make sure that is on. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to performance. Let's do a save as. Let's save it right here. And we're going to put it right in slot 2. And I'm going to name it test. And click OK. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I already have a pass-through in here. So I'm going to select the pass-through and then show you what the audio sound, what everything sounds like. Here we go.
That's what I find is a little difficult.
Okay, that's the pass-through.
Yeah, well, it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better it gets.
So let's go back to the test.
My primary interest in it is working DX and also contests, because that's when the DX comes out too. And, I just want to be able to use it when that's there. I'm not interested in really much in.
Okay, so I'm going to mute it. You can also mute it, bottom right-hand box on the engine output. All right, so let's go to plugins. We need the Reefer standalone, RIA plugs. Reefer standalone. Let's do a repatch. Let's drag this down here. And go to the input of the Reefer standalone. We need to change that from engine input to the Denoiser Pro, last plugin in the chain before you brought that in. Let's repatch that. Let's repatch the engine, the input of the engine output. Let's select Reefer standalone. Now let's open up the Reefer standalone. And first thing we need to do is we need to make this points flat right here and change this to subtract. Okay. Now let's bring this all the way down here. Let's place this about 100. And let's add a point. You can left click on the red line and add a point. And let's bring this all the way up. And this is basically will act as a gate on any frequencies below that area. So let's place this in here. Let's place this at around, what's that, 41 hertz? Yeah, for the voodoo guys. Let's take this one. Bring this down. I usually place this about 4 kilohertz. Right about here. You're going to have to fuss with this. Left click on the red line, make another point, and bring this straight up. That will gate everything, roll off everything above 4 kilohertz. I like to place a few points in here. Left click, left click, left click, left click. Okay. And let's put a point in around 2.5K right in there. So you can left click and drag up and down, right? So let me mute this. So what you're going to have is you're going to have, let's say, the native noise floor. So if I move to a frequency that is not in use, let's go right here and unmute it. You can see that the noise floor, that gray line is the noise floor. And we've got some static crashing happening, but we're going to ignore that. See how there's like a hump right here in the low end? If I click this, see that? Took that right out. That's what I was talking about, that low roll off on the Burton. That's where that is really handy. You can drop that. Like I can bring that down to, let's say, 125. So anywhere in there, right? Now, if I uncheck this, you're going to see the hump come back, the noise floor, the bottom end. See that? Kind of annoying. Anyways. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work to set this up properly. So let's get back on a frequency that somebody's talking on. Now unmute it.
Have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, really good. I marked the frequency down 7140 approximately, and I think we started, Bob, around 1900 Zulu. So
Okay.
I'll try to look for you guys on this frequency around 1900, maybe a little earlier than that. And maybe next time we'll meet Roy there.
Okay, so I'm on the sun right now. So there's two things on the sun that will govern this. So there's two things you have. Same thing on any transceiver. You have an RF gain, and you have on the sun, you have your output volume. On, let's say, an ICOM, you have your gain on your USB audio codec. So you could work with that, but mostly when you set this up on, let's say, an ICOM or any other conventional transceiver where you're using a USB audio codec, you can use a combination of the RF gain, noise reduction on the rig, mostly the RF gain at that point, and you're going to need to set the gain level on your USB audio codec. Don't set it too hot. You don't need a lot to make this system work, right? So what I'm going to do is, I won't be able to show you this. I'll have to switch between screens. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the RF gain at 60. Normally I run it at 70, but the static crashing is pretty bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the volume, and you'll hear it go quiet. It'll slam the door on that. Now, this signal is not that strong. He's an S7 to S9, floating about an S8, but you'll hear it. When I roll that volume back, there's going to be a sweet spot where everything just slams shut. So here we go.
Warm things up here, everybody. You hear me okay? You hear me, Bob?
There you go.
You're obscenely strong. I mean, you got to change your ways.
Okay. Well, I'm giving the old gonculator an acid test here at like day 3 for it since I repaired it. But hi, Al. I just got done work a little while ago, and I set the air conditioner to come on at.
So when you look at this, I always have the Brit presser opened. This is the limiter, and I watch this. Right, so he came up to about a 10 over. That's pretty good signal. So you want some good hard limiting on that signal. Let me unmute it, and I'll roll the volume.
But I don't know how long I'm going to be able to sit in here. It's pretty darn hot. It's 88 degrees up here. Over to you, Al. KC3 BYC.
Yeah. Well, that's a continuation of last year's trouble, huh? That was the same thing, and they didn't fix themselves over the winter. But all right, yeah. Oh.
So this is kind of a good test. He's piss weak, an S7. Sorry, Al. I like Al. He's a great guy. So he's piss weak, but watch what happens when the other guy comes in.
We'll see if it continues. Oh, sad story. But we'll see if things got any better or worse. But yeah, one thing that Bob from Pennsylvania mentioned was, seeing you on that jet ski wearing a helmet, I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, a helmet and knee pads and a bulletproof vest. I don't think that's Bob's style. I don't know. What do you think there, Bob? KB1AL.
How about a well-built jockstrap?
Yeah, like Rich keeps saying.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. Things that will, well, I'm not going to cover that right now. That's the end. I don't want to jump ahead. So there's one more plugin which I find really cool. Really, 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 really cool. The Ambio Orbit. I just stumbled upon this. It's a free plugin by Sennheiser. And yes, the download link is on the website. It's super coolio. It's kind of a heavy lifting plugin though. So let's grab this one. Okay, let's repatch this bad boy. This is a binaural spatial imaging plugin. So this brings your audio out of the mono realm and gives it space, the received audio. It's kind of cool. Some people may not like it. I love it. This is going in after the reefer standalone. Click that. Repatch the engine output, the input of the engine output to the MBO orbit. Okay. So I'm going to drag this thing down here. And I'm going to stack these. So let's open control panel of the MBO orbit. So the first thing I do, I set the level to 50%. Of course, you can play with this. Size I'll set to about 10 o'clock. Clarity I set to 12 o'clock. Width I'll just go ahead and set to 12 o'clock. Let's go a little bit less. So the width, you'll notice you have your center point here on this bullseye. And so this is how wide the effect is going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this off. Let's draw it off to the left to about here. Okay, and this I'm going to place, let's do elevation. Let's put the elevation about here, 31 degrees. I leave this set to, did I put it? No, I put it on curtains. So I put it on curtains. All right. All right, let's get the audio back on. Take a listen.
And they took one house out this morning and sent them to the dog food plant. So, 90,000 chickens or something. So there's still 400,000 chickens left or something. So it's like.
Okay, I'm going to toggle this in and out so you can hear the effect. Here we go. I'm going to shut the, but I'm not going to talk because the audio is so loud you won't hear me. So watch this right here. I'm going to bring this plug-in in and out. Make sure you're wearing headphones, otherwise you may get a little confused. But I'll show you what it does. Here we go.
Just too close to hunting season to go looking for a job. So
off.
I think I might take advantage of it, Al, and sign up for unemployment. If that happens anyway. I feel sorry for the chickens. They must really be sick. But anyhow, that's the story, Al.
Off.
This is KC3BYC.
What did they get? Avian flu over there or something?
It only cost me $28 or $30 to ship it out to Michigan. I was very surprised. It only weighed about 8 pounds, right? And because you remember the 7000
off
and the Mark II G0. I think they're the same case
on.
And everything, but almost the same layout, right? To me, the 7000 was like having a Mark II G on steroids. You know, I mean, having that nice multicolor display. And I always had mine with the black background too. I really, it looked rich, you know. I liked it like that. But I used to keep it down dim because, you know, with the lights off, I didn't want that thing glaring in my face either, you know. So maybe that's why it lasted so long. It's lasted so long. So anyways, yeah. So hopefully I'll find out what the heck's going on with that. Yeah, maybe it was almost worth sending it into the other place. So I'm assuming you were.
Okay, so that's basically how to set the freaking thing up, and it's pretty cool, ain't it? There are so many functions in here. Let me just go back over the primary things that I always run. There's a couple catches here. So this plugin, the Bitsonic Recovery, this recovery knob. Remember to check your gains, set the gains up step by step by step. If you change one gain, you know what I was thinking of? Chain gang. I need to be on a chain gang. Anyways, if you change one gain, it's going to affect all the other plugins after it. So you have to go down through. This is the key one. The limiter is awesome. That's what makes it really, it tends to smooth out the audio radically. Every system is going to be different. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. This is a complex system. If you've never worked with this stuff before, yes, it's fun to play with, but it can be an insanely powerful tool. Pure orgasmic listening pleasure. I've said it a million times. It is. It's incredible. It's the best thing I've ever heard. It's not because I put it together, but I'm telling you, it's incredible what this thing does. That was just a quick setup. Not even, and I may actually keep this and run it because it's working really well. We'll just give it another listen really quick.
But he's got the push-to-talk line backwards. So he can't run his tuner and his amplifier because he's got the push-to-talk line going from the radio to the amp first rather than the tuner first. So he's got to go down to his rack gear and change it around. But he's running 2.9.0.8 with all the meters on RX1, go ahead.
He's got to be a happy camper. Well, good deal, Chaz. All right.
Telling you right now, there ain't a radio on the freaking planet that can touch that crap natively. Ain't gonna happen. Let's go back over here quick. Okay, so some key things, and this will apply to all other transceivers. Okay, the volume on the received audio of the transceiver sets the stage for everything else to come, along with the RF gain or the AGCT. I'm trying to explain this so it's condensed down into the simplest of processes. Okay, once the Rxdap system is configured, the only thing pretty much you should ever have to touch would be turn the noise reduction on or off. If it's extremely noisy, an extremely noisy band, you may have to run the noise reduction on the radio. Don't be afraid to use that. The volume on, let's say, a non-flex or sun, and the AGCT or the RF gain. Those three things. This is the click of a button. But once this is set, pretty much the only thing you ever have to do is just roll this. Now, if you, let's say you're working some DX and you don't want to do any fiddling, right? Well, you just put the reefer standalone in bypass. Bottom left-hand corner, just click that right there. A little red X. See that pop up in bypass? It'll take the reefer out, which acts sort of as a gate. The other thing you can do, which is really cool, is you can crank this up right here. So you'll hear what this does. But be careful with this because all of a sudden you'll have a weak signal come in and you ain't going to hear anything because it's cranked up too high. So let me unmute it.
I can see him fine on Team Viewer. Oh, he's got meters to look at, Carl.
Let's go up.
You know how you felt when you first saw the meter, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I couldn't get over.
See, that's too much. Let's bring this back down.
I sent them out to Jerry, W1JWC, and Robert, and hearing guys talk about the meters. So I sent them a clip, and you see what I did. And I was the one. I was happy to have it side by side with the GUI.
Yeah, whatever. New Thetis, piece of crap. I don't care what anybody says. I have to actually. I can't believe it. I don't know if they fix it yet. I'm not going to run it. Actually, I hate that friggin' radio anyways. I do. I hate that friggin' thing. Way overrated. Listen to this. This is the sun. The Anon don't sound like that, folks. That freaking thing, you get static crashing on that. I've said it a million times. It will rip the freaking skin right off your face. Freaking way overrated. I personally can't stomach those radios. I have one. Trust me, I know. Look at the static crashing on this screen. Yeah, this is the other thing I wanted to show you. Look at the static crashing on this. Look at the noise. Noise floor is up 15 dB from where it normally. Look at that. Almost 20 dB. Can you hear it? You can't even hear it. Let me unmute the audio. You can't even hear the freaking crap on this radio. With this system running, I'm telling you, even with this system running on the Anon, it'll literally rip the friggin' top of my head right off. It'll scalp me. Just painful to listen to. Let's, I'm going to unmute it. Now, when there's a lot of static crashing, you have a weak signal. Yeah, you're going to hear it. But listen to the type of audio it has. It's amazing. What's this right here?
Faded right into the noise.
Look at that. You can't even hear the static crashing. Look at it. Crazy, huh?
I make my own iced tea. It's my favorite, one of my favorites. So glad you called me, Dave. And I'm sorry you're not going to Sussex.
Look at that.
It's always a good time. So I'm sure you'll miss it, but there's always next year. So maybe you'll see you then. WA3HVR N8MW clear.
Here, we had something with the family that we have to do. See the grandkids, so. A3 HVR.
It's been pretty wild. I looked at the forecast. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast for the next 10 days. Hopefully we don't have another repeat of what we had the other night. Anyway, it's been a good deal. At least survived largely unscathed and no damage to the...
All right, folks. Pretty cool, huh? Catch you later. I'm done. This is all I know. This is all I know, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping track of things. Hope this answers some questions. Don't contact me with questions until you've researched plenty. This is all, everything that I know is in these videos, and this pretty much ties it off. I don't know what to tell you. We'll see you later. 7-3. Good luck.